Loveland Darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm doing a list of books that I did not finish or DNF'd. I feel immensely defeated when I can't finish a book, but at the same time I'm trying to weigh how much I am actually enjoying this book, and if it becomes a chore to finish, or if I just would rather be reading something else. Sometimes these books I just have to admit defeat and put them aside. Some of the books on this list I may eventually get back to, and that would be awesome if I did, even if I didn't rank them high, just because I feel horrible about not finishing books. Like, it really gets to me when I can't get to the end of the story. So this is a weird list for me to do, but I recently had to admit defeat and DNF a book, so it's fresh on my mind. Also, a while back there was a Top 5 Wednesday list that was books we did not finish, so I'm going to link that in the description below and exclude any book that was on that list from this one. I don't feel like I need to talk about the same book multiple times. So these are 10 more books that I did not finish. So the book that got me doing this list is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith and based off of the book by Jane Austen. This one I have been putting off reading for so long. I'm like, Jane Austen is amazing. I'm not really that big fan of zombies. So I was like, not feeling a strong pull to read this book. Also, I've seen the movie version of this book and it's amazing. So I was like, hey, maybe the book's actually pretty good. It's okay, basically. What happened with this book is that I would rather be reading Jane Austen's original. This book stays very true to Jane Austen and literally takes her words and then just mixes it up with zombies. There's like a novelty factor for the first few pages for me that I was like, this is pretty cool. And then around page 50, I realized that I was over it. And I stopped reading at page 79. Did not take me long to just give up. I would rather just read Pride and Prejudice without all the zombies, honestly. I don't feel like it's adding much to these characters or the plot. Maybe I didn't go far enough into this book, but I'm just not feeling it. I've had this book out of the library and had to renew it twice already, and it's just like, I'm done. I clearly just am not into this, and I keep picking other books instead of it, so we're gonna admit defeat. The movie is awesome, and I love the fact that it takes these characters and kind of moves the plot a little bit, so part of it stays true, and then towards the end it goes off and does its own thing. This is not feeling like it's gonna go off and do its own thing, though. The next book on my list is Public Library by Ali Smith. I'm pretty sure I actually did a review of this because I got this as a Goodreads giveaway and an ARC, so felt like I had to review it because that was the point of getting the ARC. But ultimately, it wasn't what I was expecting. There are sections of this book where other people share their experiences about public libraries and why they're very passionate about it, and I love that parts of the book. In fact, that's why I gave this book 2 stars out of 5. But ultimately, the short stories, which make up most of this book by Ali Smith, aren't that interesting. They're a little bit weird, not digging them, and so I stopped reading. Like, I skipped ahead and read other people's personal interjections, but just stopped reading her short stories because it was like, why is this person turning into a tree? I don't like surrealist stuff. Apparently, I stopped on like page 60. The next book on my list is Beige Planet Mars by Lance Parkin and Mark Clapham. This I read last year. Lance Parkin was doing an author talk at my library that I work at, so I read a bunch of his books, and this is one of the ones that I got, and it's okay. I like the future world of what's happening on Mars and how the society develops, but I'm not that personally attached to the main character of Bernice Summerfield or her adventures, and I just didn't feel it. Once I established how the world works and what Mars is like, I just lost interest. And it's another one of those books where I just kept not coming back to it. Like, I frequently read multiple books at a time, and I would just not pick this book up again. And so I ultimately had to return to the library. Like, I maxed out the number of times I could renew it and hadn't gotten like halfway through the book. So, yeah. If you like archaeologists on space and Mars and people trying to kill you while, like, an Indiana Jones type thing. This could be good for you, but I just didn't have the emotional connection to the character, so I didn't really care what happened to her. Similarly, I started reading but did not finish The Forbidden Library by Django Wexler. This is a J fiction novel, and it focuses on this girl who becomes the ward of an uncle or something, and he has this mysterious library where lots of weird things happen. You can go inside the books. It sounded kind of cool, so I started reading it, but in the end, it also sounded a lot like Inkheart, and I also didn't have a strong emotional connection to this small child. It is a children's book, so hopefully, if you are a child or have small children, you might appreciate it more. But as an adult reading this book, I just was not into it. Like, another one where I just did not connect to the main character, and so I didn't care what happened. The world is pretty cool, and the library is interesting, but I just another book that I would just rather have been reading other things at the time. So, gave up on it. The next book on my list is The Mists of Avalon by Marion Bradley Zimmer. She wrote a bunch of books like this. They focus on Morgana, or Morgan Le Fay, which I adore. She's one of my favorite characters from Arthurian legend. I did not dig her in this version where she's less exciting. Like, she's really boring in this. I don't know how you take Morgana and make her boring, but she did it, and I just didn't care. Like, she's true good all the time and sort of weak, and I didn't have investment in this world. It wasn't connected to Arthurian legend, which is what I was kind of hoping for. I felt really bad because this is a really big book, and I bought it, and it was kind of expensive, and then I'm like, I can't read this book. Why is this? It's just, everything about this book was just blah and meh for me, and no. Nope. So, pass on that book. Yeah. I don't even think I got very far into that book before I decided that I didn't care. The next book on my list is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. I love the movie. I saw the movie first. It is amazing. I love the dragon riding thing, talking to dragons, all the adventure. The book deviates, or rather the movie deviates from the book quite a bit. And so when I went in to read the book, I was disappointed because it wasn't as good as the movie. And I know a lot of people hate the movie because it's not like the book, but because I got emotionally attached to the movie versions of the characters, I kind of am not a fan of the book ones. I know my sisters really love this series and are always trying to get me to read it. Like, even now, my one sister's like, you should read it, but I'm still not doing it. Every time I try to read this book, I would just I want to watch the movie instead. So that's why I haven't finished Eragon. The next book on my list is The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. This is like an LGBT biography from a queer author, and it was one of our shared shelf books, and I tried to read it, and just this book is a mess. The writing's weird. I thought the punctuation was weird. Like, everything about the way this book is presented is really odd. I don't know if I need an audiobook to eventually get through this, but things happen out of order. I had trouble following who people were, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening in this book, and it is really strange, and I wanted to get through it so I could, participate in our shared shelf for these months, but it did not happen. This book weirds me out just on the level of I don't understand how this got published in the format it was published in. It needs so much editing. I think I blanked out on this book, because I cannot think of any examples of what was so weird about it. But whenever I think of this book, I cringe. When I see it at the library where I work, I am visibly cringing when I see it. It's bad. I have grammar PTSD or something from this book. Next on my list is Quiet, The Powers of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. This is a book that is nonfiction. It kind of explains the introvert persona and the strengths that introverts have and how to kind of work in an extrovert-centered world. I just found it kind of boring and a little bit condescending. I'm an introvert. I study people. I know and own the fact that I'm an introvert and know how to work within the confines, and everything about this book I was just finding it didn't apply to me, but also some of it, the way it's worded, just sounded smug. I don't know why it came off that way, but I did not enjoy reading this book, so I did not end up finishing it. I don't like self-help books to begin with, which might be a problem with this. But this one in particular, I'm just like, no. It's not that she's completely off the mark with introverts, but having it explained and like dubbed down that way felt really patronizing to me, and so yeah, pass on this one. I wanted it to be good and amazing, but it just wasn't. The next book on my list is The Versions of Us by Laura Barnett. This one is a fiction novel. There are basically two main characters, and when we first meet them, they have their first meet cute, and it goes down one way. But then there were like 3 different alternate realities happening in this book about choices that they make, or decisions that they do, or things that are said. And so it tweaks it a little bit. People meeting connections, not meeting connections. And so they each have like these love interests outside of each other. And in one version, they end up together. In one version, they end up like missing each other and going on with their lives. And like every time we start a new thing, there's 3 different versions of what's happening based on what happened in the previous ones. And it got super confusing, first of all, to remember what happened following which timeline. Trying to place them was very distracting. Secondly, I would get attached to one version of what was happening and then basically have it retconned. I would get attached to one version of these characters and one version of sets, and then the next time we meet up with them, they've managed to mess it up again. And it's just really annoying, and so I just could not finish this book. I was getting super frustrated with these characters and the author for setting it up this way, and I couldn't do it. Can't finish it. I really wanted to finish this book, but it's so not happening. So the last book on my list is Christmas Is Not Your Birthday by Mike Slaughter. This is another book that I found incredibly patronizing and super annoying. First off, this is a book about the materialistic emphasis that we have placed on Christmas and how we've kind of deviated from the true meaning of Christmas. And I mean, it's a Christian book, so trying to bring it back to faith in Jesus, and talk about how much emphasis we put on the presents, and everybody acts like it's their second birthday, and how wrapped up we get in trying to find the right present for somebody else and putting ourselves into debt over this, and how obsessed we are with having like the perfect holiday where everybody's happy and everything's sweet and pristine. And I get that, and some people have a problem with that, and I think it's an awesome book for that reason. I personally found this book patronizing and annoying because you don't know my life, Mike Slaughter. First off, Christmas is my birthday. So it's kind of annoying when he's constantly repeating the line, Christmas is not your birthday, over and over and over again. And the first couple times I'm like, okay, let it pass. But eventually it's just like, it is my birthday, shut up. Second, all the things that he talks about and complains about people treating Christmas like it's their birthday, those aren't things I have problems with because Christmas is my birthday. I am not self-centered because I have to share my birthday. Basically, I don't get a birthday every year, so it's really annoying. How am I going to treat it like my second birthday? So yeah, like I think all the materialistic things he has don't apply to me either because Christmas is my birthday and I've had to take a second seat to that my entire life. Always. I am always going to be, Jesus is always going to be number one, and I'm always going to be like forgotten in the corner without having a birthday. Thank you very much. Secondly, my family's poor, and so we cannot afford to go crazy with Christmas, and so I've never had a giant materialistic Christmas that is complaining about. Things go wrong, it's a mess, it's probably my least favorite day because it's like the most chaotic. So yeah, Christmas is like my least favorite holiday because it's the most chaotic, and so I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of Christmas, and I definitely wasn't a fan of this book. If I ever do finish this book, it will be to make a point-by-point refutal of this book. So guys, those are 10 books that I have not finished. Let me know in the comments below if you have DNF'd any books, and if you have read any of these, what you thought of them. If you think I should go back to any of these books, let me know. If you want a point-by-point refutal of Christmas Is Not Your Birthday, let me know that too. So peace out, I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye!